So now let's understand the views. So a view allows the result of a query to be accessed as if it was a table. Okay. Views serve a variety of purposes, including combining, segregating, and protecting data. Snowflake supports two types of views. First is non-materialized view, and second is materialized view. There is third thing, which is secure views. Both materialized and non-materialized views can be defined as a secure views. So secure views are very advantageous when it's come to privacy and data sharing. So but they have some little impact on performance as well, so we need to take into that consideration. That's about views. And Snowflake recommends to create a materialized view when all of these are true. Okay, the query results from the view don't change often. This almost always means that underlying base tables for the view doesn't change often. Okay, or at least that the subset of the base table rows, okay, don't change. Okay. So the second is the results of the view are used often, and that's obvious. And third is the query consumes a lot of resource. Typically, this means that the query consumes a lot of processing power, time, or credits, but it could also mean that the query consumes a lot of storage space for intermediate results. Okay, so this is where Snowflake recommends to use the materialized views. Although, the materialized view is named as a type of view, in many ways it behaves more like a table. Okay, the materialized views results are stored almost as though the results are stored in the table. So this allows actually faster access, but it also requires storage space and active maintenance, both of which, obviously incur additional cost as well. So you can create a materialized view. Okay, so let's define a materialized view. In order to create a materialized view, that is again same like above, and create or replace materialized view and the view name. View materialized ABC. Okay, as select star from one dummy table here. Control C, Control V. So let's create this. Perfect. So it created the materialized view as well. So there are, limitations for materialized views as well. So materialized view, as you know, they are highly optimized. So, but they come with strict house rules, you can say. Like they can only query one table. Okay, you cannot use joins in materialized views. If you want to use joins, better to go with dynamic tables. Okay, and you cannot use violate functions like current timestamp and random functions like that. So let's try with that one as well. So let's mention comma current underscore timestamp as created. See, so you cannot use this. So this actually violates the materialized views features. So this is the limitations. Okay, the first is you cannot have multiple, you cannot query more than one table. Basically you cannot use joins, and you cannot use volatile functions like random, current timestamp, auto increment. So this is the limitation in materialized view. Otherwise this looks fine. Let's understand user defined functions. When there is a process we require to repeat multiple times, okay, at that time in any programming language we create functions, right? So that functions in Snowflake, technically called as UDFs, which is user-defined functions. So UDF allows you to perform operations that are not available through the built-in system-defined function. Okay, so we create UDF whenever there is a need to repeat the same functionality. So Snowflake supports 4 languages for writing UDFs: SQL, JavaScript, Java, and Python. This is really important. And UDF can return scalar as well as tabular results. And Snowflake supports UDF overloading, means if the same name we are having and we are passing different parameters, it will behave accordingly. So if I show you the sample UDF examples, as I told you, UDFs can be scalar or can be tabular. So I am showing you both the examples. So the keyword syntax for Snowflake is snow create function and then any function name, like as you see here, area of circle, and then you need to return the UDF. Okay, returning of UDF is very, very important. There is no way that you can create the UDF without return. You need to mention return and you have to return something. That's the function definition, right? It returns something. You create the function. If it is a scalar function, you can mention the return with a data type. And if that's a tabular function, then you need to mention return table and the columns required as the result. Okay, and this result you can directly use in any SQL queries. That's the biggest perk of UDF. This is the sample examples of how you can create UDFs and you can try that out. So let's focus on next topic, that is stored procedures. And it's self-explanatory that it allows you to write procedural codes. Okay, that includes SQL statements, conditional loops, cursors, iterations. So you can create a stored procedures. It's a procedural code as in other languages as well. So Snowflake supports 5 languages for writing procedures. That's very, very important to remember. So Snowflake supports Snowflake scripting, JavaScript, Java, Scala, and Python. Okay. So from a store procedure, you can return single as well as tabular data. It's same as UDF. Okay. UDF also returns singular as well as tabular data. Same store procedure can also return it. It supports branching and grouping, and it supports dynamically creating a SQL statement and executing it. You might say, what if UDF is also doing some like that, and store procedure is also doing some things like that? What's the difference between them, right? So we will come to that. I will just show you the store procedure example. Okay, then we will go into the difference between UDF and stored procedure. Cool. So this is a sample procedure. Syntax for creating store procedure is create or replace procedure name. Then it can return or it cannot return. So you mention the return if you want to return something. And if you don't have anything to return, just skip that point. Then you need to mention your language, and then you need to quote everything inside double dollars. All the code will go inside that. And this is the simple store procedures example which I am showing you. If you have to call the store procedure, you just need to write a keyword call. It will call and with this name, and it will eventually call your store procedure, okay, in Snowflake. So that's how store procedure works. Now let's come to the most important part. What's the difference between UDF store procedures? Okay, so store procedure may or may not return values. Okay, store procedure can or cannot return. It depends. It's up to you. It's up to the requirement. But UDF should always returns the results. Okay. This is very important to remember. Very, very important. Okay. That UDF always return values. Okay, so now procedures are called as independent statements. Okay, functions are called in the SQL statements. So I told you earlier that you can use UDF directly. You don't need to worry, but you cannot use store procedure directly. Okay, so UDFs are directly callable using SQL statements, but procedures are not. Okay, values returned by procedures, as I just told you. So it's saying the same thing. Values returned by procedures are not directly usable, but whatever returns by functions, we can directly use anywhere. Okay. We can only have a single call per procedure. Okay. Single procedure per call. But we can call the function any number of times. Okay. Multiple number of times, a million number of times you can call the same function at the same time. It don't have any impacts. Procedures can execute DDLs and DML operations. Okay, this is another plus point, that procedures have DML and DDL support, but UDF don't have any kind of DDL support. That's a negative point, right? So this is the major difference between UDFs and procedure. Now you know what's the UDF, when you need to use the UDF, and when you need to use the stored procedures. What's the syntax for that, right? Cool. So let's move to the next point, that is file formats. Okay. So file formats is something which is very important when we have to stage something from outside of the Snowflake into Snowflake. We actually need to create the file formats. It is mandatory requirement to create a files format before creating the stage. Okay. Because in stage property, we do require that. So there are multiple file formats supported, and as you already know, it's CSV, Parquet, ORC, JSON, right? So there are multiple format type options based on each file format. Okay, so if I show you, this is the syntax for file format: create or alter file format, and then you need to mention the file format name. Okay, and then you need to mention the properties which we are just going to see. First property, if the type is CSV. Okay, the file type option, format type options are compression, record delimiter, field delimiter, file extension, skip header, trim space, for field optionally enclosed, null if empty, field as null. So these are the major highly useful options which I use on regular basis. So it's nothing I had remember them with the experience, with the hands-on. It automatically, I had learned that. So these are the most widely used format type options in case of CSVs. Okay. Similarly, we have other format type options for JSON. Okay. Like compression, date format, strip outer array. Okay. This is very, very, very widely used in JSON. Okay. Replace invalid characters. So these are very, very important one. Okay. And then third, Parquet. So in Parquet, again, compression is there. Then use logical type is there. Binary as text, this is always usable when we are creating the file format. So same way in Avro ORC we have these options, and same way in XML, uh, these are the highly usable options. Okay, so you don't need to learn them, but you should have a quick gist that uh, about the most important ones. Like if you see in any kind of file type, there is a common file format type option, that is compression, right? So it's everywhere. So other very important are record delimiter, field delimiter, and file extension, obviously skip header. These are very, very important. Field optionally enclosed, null if, and in the same way here, trim space, and replace invalid characters, and then strip outer elements. These are those format types which even I use kind of regular basis. So you need to understand them, that what are the file formats and how we create them, and what are the file types we supported in Snowflake, right?